The vision of the New York Ministry Network is gospel transformation in every community in New York.
Our mission, we exist to strengthen a network of healthy leaders and healthy churches.
Everyone can get healthier. Every leader can be healthier. Every church can be healthier.
Health is not just important for the sick and hurting. Health is not just needed for the weak and struggling. Health is for everyone.
I believe that every church in our network can grow healthier. Every church, from the newest church to the oldest church.
From the smallest church to the largest church.
From the church plant to the church planting church. If we are going to see gospel transformation in every community in New York, then we need to have a healthy church in every community of New York.
As you listen today, think of the community within which God has sovereignly placed your church.
Think of the individuals and the families. Think of the schools and workplaces.
Think of where people shop, play, and eat. Think of every home. Think of every heart.
And now imagine gospel transformation in that community. The kingdom of God on earth as it is in heaven.
What will it look like? One thing is for sure, it will include a healthy church.
Hey everybody, welcome to The 10. We're so glad you're joining us for this next hour as we have a conversation about rethinking church health. The past 2 years, our network has been dreaming about what it would look like for us to serve our local churches and helping them accomplish their mission of gospel transformation in every community in New York. And we're going to share with you over the next hour some of the things we've been working on, some of the resources we've created, and the process that we've created, which we want to invite you to be a part of. The 10 stands for the 10 characteristics of a healthy church. And we've identified these 10 characteristics and also have identified resources that accompany them, which can be used to serve you and your church in pursuing a greater level of church health. So over the next hour, you're going to hear from some leaders here in our own network and around the country, many of which you have already been a part of this process. They're going to share with you some of the things they've learned, some of the things that they've been a part of, and some of the resources that'll be available to you. So let's get started by hearing from our superintendent, Dr. Dwayne Durst. Thanks for being with us. And I know in many of our conversations, you and I, church health, leadership health is such a high value and priority to you. So as we get into this event, I'm interested to hear from you. Why does church health and leadership health matter so much in your opinion?
A congregation isn't going to be healthy unless its leader is healthy. And a leader doesn't become healthy unless there's an investment in that person, in that family. The marriage has to be healthy. The relationships with the kids need to be healthy. Leadership styles need to be healthy, and talking with their board and those who are in the congregation. So our focus as a network really is on focusing on the health of the leader. If we truly believe that gospel transformation is necessary in every community in New York, then you're going to have healthy leaders who are going to be able to lead that transformational effort. And so that means we're going to be investing in pastors, and we're going to be investing in pastors' marriages, investing in our preachers' kids. Not that our pastors are unhealthy, but we want everyone to be healthier, stronger, better equipped, and we want to put our money where our mouth is. That's going to be our budget. It's our budgetary focus to make sure that we provide what is absolutely necessary for our pastors to be as effective as they possibly can. When you have a healthy leader, the congregation is going to be parented, if you will, by that pastor and that marriage. They're going to be able to emulate that pastor's style. Yeah. I've told folk before, when I go to a church, you can tell the personality of the church by the personality of the pastor. Eventually, they're going to take on the pastor's personality. So if you go into a congregation and there's been a loving pastor, you're going to see a lot of people hugging each other. You're going to see people who are committed. If he's willing to sacrifice and pour into their lives, they're going to be sacrificial as well in pouring into their community. And that healthy church then is going to be able to impact its neighborhood.
I love that. I know your heart is so believing in the potential impact that our churches can have. And kind of given the climate that we're in right now, 2020 feels like one of the craziest years we've ever had. Why do you feel so strongly that our local churches and the message of the gospel is the hope to the world?
There's a dichotomy in our world right now. There's tremendous interest in faith and the supernatural. All you have to do is watch some of the TV programs and you
Yeah.
see the interest in the supernatural. Then you've got the drug addiction, the riots, everything that seems so broken in our society. There has to be a vehicle that transforms and brings hope and understanding of what life can be. That is the local church. And a healthy pastor leading a healthy church is going to touch and impact the community. I've told leaders, God will use whatever you put on the table. So if you put resources and training and skills and spiritual development and a credential, you put it on the table, God can use that, and God can do the same thing with a local church and bringing transformation in a community. People need to know that they're loved. People are feeling lonely, especially now, feeling locked up. So we need to be able to change our communities, but the only way that communities are going to change is when they know that we love them.
Yeah.
When they know that we care more about them than we care about ourselves. And the local church is there to change the community and to impact the community. So it is not only the hope of the world, it's the hope of the neighborhood. It's the hope of our state. It's the hope of the county. It's the hope of our cities. When the gospel is able to be transformational, things change.
Yeah, in some ways, as crazy as it feels, it is more evident that the potential impact that we can have, right? The potential impact that these local churches can have, because it's not us on our own effort. It's the power of
Yep.
the Holy Spirit, which is transformational, supernatural, working through us through the message of Jesus. And that's pretty exciting. That's pretty cool for us to be a part of.
A healthy church for me is a healthy Pentecostal church. The gospel empowered by the Spirit, where a pastor is able to pastor the gifts and the church is able to see the Spirit of God in operation in the community where they're serving and where they're working.
Yeah. I know in our conversation a lot, one of the things that's important to you is not doing things the way we've always done them. And the theme of this event is rethinking church health.
Right.
So why to you and your years of experience in ministry is the idea of not doing it the way we've done it or rethinking things so important?
When I was a kid, my dad described himself as a chronic malcontent, meaning that he was never satisfied with the way things are. I inherited that. I believe that things can always change. I think that everything can be transformed. Everything can be improved. And if we do what we've always done, we're going to get what we always got. We're going to be sequestered inside the walls of our church. We're going to be holding on until Jesus calls us home. And that's not what he called us to do. So we need to be dreamers. I've challenged folk, you've got to be out of your mind. You've got to be able to dream God's dreams. And God's dreams are so big that you can't accomplish them by yourself. If you can accomplish them without God's involvement, they're not a God dream. They're your dream. A God dream is so huge that God has to be involved in the process in order to pull it off. And it should scare you. And if it does, it will drive you to your knees. You'll depend upon the Lord. You'll depend upon the leading of the Spirit of God. And when he pulls it off and uses you, you can't take the credit for it. You can sit back and pat yourself on the back and say, man, I'm really good. You were just used, that's all. And God gets the glory. We've had so many great leaders who have become infatuated with their own leadership, with their own success. I think it's important that we are amazed that God chooses to use us and that he loves us enough to use us. And so I think rethinking church health is saying we're going to do things different than we've ever done them before. We're going to be looking to see what God wants to do and breaking the molds. Many of our churches have done that already this pandemic season. Churches that never thought they'd be online and doing live streaming or Facebook Live. Now it's routine. They're Zooming Bible studies daily, many of them. I think there are many more things beyond what we've done already that can be done. And part of rethinking church health is saying we can do things different, better, additional from anything we've ever done before. And I think we'll see the move of the Spirit of God that we crave, that we're longing for.
Yeah, the future's bright, and it's very exciting
Yep.
to imagine what New York is going to look like in 5, 10, 20 years from now. Hey, we're really pumped about what's to come in the rest of our time together. We're just getting started here, and we're excited to share with you a special message from one of our friends, Herbert Cooper, who's the senior pastor of People's Church in Oklahoma City. And he's got a message for New York about the power and potential of the local church.
Hello, pastors and church leaders. I am Herbert Cooper, senior pastor of People's Church in Oklahoma City. We are a multi-site, multicultural, multi-generational church. I believe in the local church. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 16 and verse number 18, he said, I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against the church of Jesus Christ. Pastors, church leaders, congregations, I want you to know that we can have healthy churches in the middle of a global pandemic. We can be healthy, we can thrive, we can grow, we can see people saved and filled with the Holy Spirit and their lives changed by the power of God. And I just want to encourage you, pastor, church leaders, this is the finest hour of the church. Don't shrink back. You can have a healthy, thriving church. Listen to me. Let me encourage your heart today. Jesus is going to build his church. You be the hands and feet of Jesus in your community. Listen to me today. Listen to me. The best is yet to come.
Hey, we're joined now by Bill Kirk, our assistant superintendent. And Bill, one of the privileges I've had over the last several years is to work with you and a team of other people on creating a strategy for our network and how to serve and resource our local churches in the area of church health and leadership health. And so we'd love to hear from you a little bit. What does that strategy look like?
Somebody once said to me, the only thing that falls into place is dirt. In other words, nobody grows by accident, and everyone has to be intentional to keep moving forward. I don't think anybody wants to be stuck and stay where they are. So the team that's been working these last couple of years has come up with 10 characteristics. That's why today's called the 10. 10 life-giving characteristics of a healthy church. And the 3 opportunities in front of us right now, beginning today, have to do with a resource library. And that will include hundreds of videos, podcasts, articles, so we can keep getting wisdom to grow smarter as we get older.
Yeah.
We're getting older.
Yes.
Yeah, I see a gray hair somewhere underneath the hair that you're dyeing, I'm sure. So
happening.
Consumables, resources that are available right now for every minister in the network.
Yeah.
Number 2 is a self-evaluation to assess local churches concerning their health on these 10 characteristics.
Right.
Some churches are strong in some areas and some may have weaknesses in other areas. And it's God's will that every church be a healthy church.
And the idea, right, is that we can all grow in each one of these areas, no matter where we're at.
It's never about the numbers or the size or even the health, because what you said is true. No matter how healthy we are, we can always grow healthier. Someone says to you, hey, you look good, you look like you're in great shape, but you know you can probably be in better shape, right? That's those Chick-fil-A Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches. So there's the resource library, there's the self-evaluation. When we look in the mirror, why do we look in the mirror? We look in the mirror to see if there's something we need to change before we step out and face the world on that day. So the evaluation really helps us to see ourselves and our church where we're at in the process. So the resource library, a self-evaluation concerning the 10 characteristics of a healthy church. And number 3 are the leadership cohorts. The leadership cohorts will allow us to connect and grow with other leaders across the network. If there's any place God wants the gospel to work, it's in community. I don't know if it was D.A. Carson or Malcolm Gladwell who said, nobody gets where they are alone. All of us are tied together, and we need each other. Yeah. Nobody moves forward alone. We've discovered in Syracuse that one snowflake isn't much by itself, but it takes a bulldozer to move them when they cooperate. Do you have a snow shovel?
I have a few, yeah.
Do you use it?
Not often, but I send my wife out sometimes to use them.
You ask your neighbors to do your driveway for you. So we are together. There's a community. So keep in mind as we move forward today, there's a resource library, a self-evaluation, and then leadership cohorts. They're going to help all of us to become stronger, to become healthier, to continue to grow and make progress beyond where we're at today. I'm really excited about this.
So I love this concept of the process, including these three parts, which are all working together. I wonder if there's some who are watching this and are thinking, is this for me? Who is this process really for?
And that's a great danger for anyone to feel that, well, this is not for me. The church has too much of a history. Things can't change. But here's the good news. The process is for everyone because it's a process, not a program. And as the leader grows, as the leader becomes healthier, the church becomes healthier.
Right.
Every life-giving, healthy church that I know of in the network across the entire state of New York, if it's a healthy church, it seems to have a healthy leader. And just the opposite is true as well. So it's a process and not I would say it's not a program, it's a process of all of us becoming healthier. Secondly, the process will serve every leader, every team, and every church. Because everybody pulling together, getting on board together, moves the ball down the field a little further. And Patriots fan, Tom Brady,
Right. Yeah, our team Tampa Bay, they're doing a great job moving the ball down the
okay,
field. Yeah.
moving on. See, they're making progress.
Yes.
Tampa Bay's making progress
Yes, they
this
are.
year, just like we're going to make progress by the grace of God in the network.
Right.
And this process will resource every church, regardless of its size, location, and history. I meet so many leaders, Jared, that have a hard time grasping the principle of past disappointments do not have to determine future opportunities.
Yeah.
And another principle that God really speaks to my heart often is the story in Luke 5 when Jesus sent Peter out to go fishing after he'd worked all night and caught nothing. And then the Lord sends him back out there and he catches a boatload of fish, needs another boat to get the haul in. So 2 boatloads of fish because Peter did what Jesus asked him to do. And here's the moral of that story. The sovereignty of God doesn't put the fish in the boat. The sovereignty of God puts the fish within reach. And you and I, all of us together as a team, and under the sovereignty of God, can participate with God in rescuing the perishing and then seeing the gospel transform their human heart. And that spreads, multiplies throughout the life and community of the church and throughout the community by the grace of God.
Yeah, I love that idea of the gospel being at the heart of church health and individual health, because the gospel has a way of centering us, right? Like if you feel really low and you feel like I don't matter, the gospel reminds us you do matter. This is worth being a part of because where God's called you, your community, it's important, you matter. But it also has a way of humbling us, right? It brings us down and says we can all grow.
And A.W. Tozier said it's not about size, speed, and sound.
Yeah.
What's the biggest, what's the fastest, what's the loudest? The heart of it is the gospel. Right. When the gospel changes our hearts, it multiplies in the hearts of other people. You've been affected by healthy leaders. I've been affected by healthy leaders. And by the grace of God, God is going to sweep across New York with gospel transformation because the gospel still works today in our generation.
Amen. This whole process you're talking about relies on assessing your current church health. If we don't know where we are, we don't know where we need to go. And so we're going to be joined by Pastor Rob Ketterling, the pastor of River Valley Church, as he has a message for us encouraging us in the importance of assessing our personal health and our church health.
I want to say hello to the New York Ministry Network leaders. I want to teach today about being a healthy church, and for just a couple minutes, so you got to stay with me, it's going to be fast, and having healthy leaders in a healthy church, which starts with having a healthy pastor. Here's what I believe. I believe churches have a soul, if you will. When you walk into a church, you can feel it. You can just feel it. You can sense it. You can feel it. It's there. It's different than a mission statement. Like, well, that's on our wall. It's our mission statement. And some churches are even defined by it. And what do I mean? Because you can just feel it. It's like a soul. It's like something that's on them. And when you go in there, it gets on you. And some churches you'll say like, oh, that church, they're so friendly. We're defining like their soul. That church, they're so generous. You see? And we start to define these churches like, oh, those guys, they have large hearts. Like, oh, they would give you the shirt off their back. You see? And here's what I want to say. Many times, and really, I would have to say all times, I think the soul of the church is connected to the pastor. Okay, so when the pastor is generous, it just naturally oozes out of the pastor onto the people, and it's on the people, it becomes the soul of the church. And so if the pastor is not healthy, then what happens is the soul gets like, that same way you'd walk in and feel it good, you can walk in and feel it bad, like, oh, it's kind of unforgiving. They're kind of judgmental. And we take on. So I cannot stress to you enough the importance of having a healthy soul. And I even think about this with Paul, with Timothy. In 2 Timothy 1:5, he's like, I'm reminded of the faith, the sincere faith. Like if you were to talk about Timothy's church, you'd say, oh man, they got sincere faith. See, Paul says, I'm reminded of the sincere faith that was on you, your mom, your grandma. There is something there. And I just believe this, that there's something with this saying, come on, be healthy. Because Paul's saying, come on, Timothy, challenge him, teach this. Come on, stay in line, stir up the gift. Come on, be healthy, Timothy. As you're healthy, your church is healthy. So number one, if you're gonna have a healthy church, you're gonna have to be healthy. Number two, you have to have healthy leaders, okay? There's a lot of people that need to have much healthier leaders, and they need to equip them, they need to train them. And again, going with Timothy, Paul says in 2 Timothy 2:2, those things that you learn from me, commit them to faithful men who are able to commit to others. So he's saying, like, as you've got this, you've got to give it away to healthy people, and those healthy leaders will help your church be healthy. So with that, one thing you may not be able to change, but I believe a proper setup with your leaders will allow you to stay healthy. Like if you're working for the board, well, that's an unhealthy leadership. If you're leading the board, which again doesn't mean that you've changed the governance, but you're literally taking the authority to lead, well, that proper setup will allow you to have healthy leaders. Why? Because you're discipling them, you're growing them, you're leading them. And then the other thing is, as you lead them, you literally are discipling and doing this, and you're saying, God, whatever's unhealthy, let me lead them. Now, let me challenge you, again, being healthy when you're leading people. Some people are just kind-hearted chaplains, and they allow dysfunction to continue. I'm speaking to somebody here. You don't know, you want everybody to like you, and so you're healthy, but you want to be liked, and so you don't want to tell the truth to people, so you don't want to lead the right way, so you really don't have a healthy church. You're healthy, but you're allowing people to be unhealthy. So as you get healthy, confront. Again, remember, Paul's saying, train them, teach them, charge those people in this world that are rich to not trust in wealth, which is so uncertain. You see, it's a dynamic. As you're healthy, you can raise up healthy leaders, especially in the healthy structure. And then the last thing is it flows over to a healthy church. And you get a healthy church that way. You don't say, I wish our church was healthy so I could raise up leaders so I could be healthy. No, I'm healthy so our leaders are healthy, so our church is healthy. There's a book, I believe it's called The Emotionally Healthy Church, and I believe it's by a guy in New York that wrote it. And I love the book except for one thing. I felt like his answer was always slow down, slow down, slow down. And I don't think every pastor, leader, or church is healthier by slowing down. I think they're healthy by doing the right things, and some need to speed up. I'll give you a case in point. This morning I was getting up and I was like, I was feeling a little lethargic. And I thought, I need to do the right thing. I didn't need to rest more. I needed to work out. So I actually got a workout in, and that made me feel better. See, it was activity that got me healthy to face this day versus sleeping more. So I like the book, but the answer is not always slow down. Some of you need to slow down, and some of you need to speed up. But here's the thing. There's the blessing of a healthy church, you couldn't put a dollar amount on it. It's incredible. And the last thing I'll say on this is it never stops needing corrections. Here's what I mean. When I was in my 30s, I did this, and my metabolism responded. I got to my 40s, I didn't do anything wrong, but my metabolism slowed down, and I had to get healthy again. When I got to 50, I didn't do anything wrong, but it just slowed down, and I had to do something to get healthy again. So you're always making corrections. Don't feel like you're a failure if your church needs a checkup to get healthy again. But remember, keep growing. A healthy pastor raising up healthy leaders leads to a healthy church that leads to, man, well done. So keep up the great work and get healthy.
One of the things I love that Pastor Rob said is don't feel like a failure if your church needs the opportunity to have a healthy checkup. All of us can get healthier. And once we know what health looks like, the next question we need to answer is how do we measure our health in those areas? So what the network has done is we've taken the 10 characteristics of a healthy church and we've created the Healthy Church Evaluation available online. And the network is making this amazing evaluation available free to the leaders, the lead pastors within our network. You'll get a code from the network and you'll go online, and most of the pastors who have already had the opportunity to go through this evaluation, it takes them about 15 to 20 minutes to do so. And as soon as you complete this evaluation, you'll receive via email a customized report. And this 30-page report will give you not just the outcomes of your evaluation, but some suggestions on what the outcomes mean and some potential next steps. Also, as a part of this resource, there are some coaching videos available online to help you as the pastor know, what do I do with these results and what should my next steps be? One of the next steps that you'll have the opportunity to take as a lead pastor is to hand select team members. Maybe it's other pastors at your church or key leaders or just individuals who serve in different ways in your church, and send them an invitation to take the exact same Healthy Church self-evaluation that you took. And once they all complete those evaluations, you'll receive even a bigger report which compiles all the results from all of your different team members' input. Now, those results will come to you and you alone, so you'll have the first opportunity to look through them and to process them. And you'll also have more coaching of videos at that point, teaching you and guiding you in how to take next steps with your team. The results for these Healthy Church self-evaluations, they're private, they're secure, they're not shared here at the network. Your presbyter doesn't get it, your executive presbyter, the network leadership team, they don't get access to any of this. This is just for you. Our learning director has access to it simply so that he can help you and your team take some next steps. And once you and your team are ready to take next steps, there's resources available, there are videos, there are lots of ways that you can move towards health. One of the things I love about this Healthy Church self-evaluation is not that it's the answer in and of itself, but that it is a starting place for the most important conversations that we need to have as we move towards health in the local church. I want you to take a moment and hear the story of two of my friends, John and Jill Pelkey. They went to a church about 5 years ago that was in desperate need of renovation. I've heard them tell the story, and the first Sunday they walked in, there was 15 to 20 people, and Jill says it this way, there was lots of work to do, but there was also lots of opportunity. And in the last 5 years, God has caused growth within that local church to the point now when they gather with about 150 people who are being discipled. They went through this self-evaluation. They've taken some of the next steps that are available to you also, and I want you to hear how helpful it was for them. I believe it will also be helpful for you.
You know, it was one of those things where we recognized that God was changing our hearts. And I had been in youth ministry for 10 years and felt like that was what I was going to do the rest of my life. But God began to work on us and change us and shift that calling. And, you know, it was one of those things we said, all right, God, we're willing to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And that openness is sometimes scary because then he's willing to send you anywhere. So we talked to the network and they gave us this opportunity. They said, hey, there's this church out in Clinton, New York that needs a pastor. And in the natural, it didn't make any sense, right? It was this big church with a huge debt, very little people coming out of a really bad situation from a few years back. And, you know, was everything in the natural part of it was like, this does not make any sense. We drove down and we walked around the outside of the church a few times, just kind of peering in windows because there was nobody there to even let us in. And we never met a single person in the church, but we just drove through the community, drove around and parked in front of Five Guys and said, God, what do you want us to do? And it was like a Holy Ghost download in that moment. And he said, if this is where you want to, if you're willing to go, I'll bless this. And God just really began to download a vision.
In the last 5 years, what we've found is what worked for us with 15 people does not work with 40 people. And what worked with 40 people had to change and develop to work with 100 people and now 150 people. And so we've seen this beautiful process happen. And there's so many different things that have helped us. And the tools that we found along the way really have helped us to be better as pastors, to help our church function in a healthy way.
Yeah, I've had a handful of people tell us what got us to where we are isn't what's going to get us to where we're going to be. And we're grateful for where we've been, but we know that God has something new and exciting for us. And as we unpack what that is, we're just really looking forward to it.
Sometimes we have a vision downloaded to us, but then we need the tools to get that vision to work. And it's exciting to have those tools to get the vision to work and to see God's plan come to fruition in people's lives, not just on a piece of paper, but in people's lives.
Yeah. It gave us that roadmap and a target to aim for. And without that, we could have gone in 150 different directions. But when somebody else helped us get to the place where we were able to have some clarity and an understanding of, all right, maybe we should just aim the ship in this direction. It really began to give us some legs on where it was that we believe God wanted us to be, and then gave us some tools and some markers along the way to figure out how to get there.
It's really easy to live Sunday to Sunday. It's really easy to get preoccupied with what you have to do next in ministry. And what the evaluation did is it helped us to take a step back and to look at everything instead of just focusing in on the thing that was right in front of us. And so that really, really helped. I think that because the tensions that we saw and we felt were now written in black and white or color, the evaluation helped us to see it on paper, and that helps us take action. You know, when you see and admit that you have an area to work on, then you can actually begin the steps, even if they're small steps, to make changes in those areas.
Yeah, the principle is the same that works in our own churches, right? When we bring more people into the conversation, we bring more intellect, more wisdom, more gifts, more talents, more abilities to the table, then we have more that we can work with. And if that principle works within the local context of the church, then as leaders of the church, that context can work as well, because we're part of a network that resources and helps and encourages us. And when we're all working together, it's the giftings and the talents of those that are good at video, and those that are good at vision, and those that are good at discipleship, and those that are good in being dependent on the Spirit, that we can all learn together and be built up as a network that is a body. But that same concept that works within the local church works within the network, and it encourages us as leaders to be better than we could ever be by ourselves.
There's a big jump from something being on paper into actually doing it. And we can come up with lots of ideas, but when we start to flesh out those ideas, that's where real progress is made and people can see changes. And the cohort really forced your hand into actually taking action steps, because we started to talk about, well, how are you going to develop discipleship? How are you having incarnational living as a value in your church? How are you doing these things? And to have to actually talk about them, not just in my own thoughts or minds, or not just to our staff, but to another pastor, really helped me and you, I think, to flesh out and develop it. It also helped to hear other people's viewpoints, to hear how somebody else was doing the exact same thing that I was doing. Just like in the Bible where it says to spur one another on through love and good deeds, I was spurred on. I was challenged. I was just shown some different things that people were doing. There were several times where people would talk about things and then send a link of like, oh, you can get this here, or you could do this there, book recommendations. And when you bring people together from different spheres of influence, different friend groups, different parts of the state, you're going to get a lot more than the people that you naturally are just friends with. That's the valuable thing that this cohort has that's unique.
On our own, we're able to bring it so far, but then you bring somebody else into the conversation, and what it does is it helps you process through the information in a different lens when you have to explain it different ways. And in our cohort specifically, a lot of us were dealing with some of the same tensions, and it was both comforting to know that other people were going through the same thing, and it was helpful because it gave a spotlight to just some glaring needs that just the church at large really needs to emphasize and to begin working on and gaining some traction on. And some of us were able to find inroads in some of those areas, and we were able to be encouraged by other people's strategies and plans and vision that they had as they were trying to do better in some of these areas.
There's a lot of places that we can invest our time, and for me, this helped me to take the time to stop and think about these characteristics, to stop and think about how to move forward. There is a different characteristic we focused on each time we met, and the resources that were available were super helpful because it was videos, but it was also articles and books and other resources that really spoke to that characteristic.
They were really, really well done, and it was by people that I knew and that I trusted, and I valued their opinion, and I knew that they believed the same way that we believe as an Assemblies of God network. And so having them, it lended credibility to what was being said, and I didn't have to know, well, does this person line up theologically with what I'm thinking? That this has all been vetted information, and so it really gave us a baseline that I can trust the source of this, I can trust the individuals that are doing it, but it also gave me a connection point that if there was something specific in that I wanted to reach out to, I knew that I could contact these guys and that they would be willing to give me the time of day.
And if we hadn't done this process, we would be doing exactly what we have always done on the wheel of life. And this helped us to stop and to pivot, to stop and to think and to creatively come up with new solutions. And so I would encourage anyone who is at any stage of their church's life, whether you're at a small church or a bigger church, a healthy church or a church that's still walking into its own, to stop and to take this time to invest the time. It's good not only for your church growth and health, but it's good for our own personal health to be around our peers, to be talking and communicating and sharing ideas. It helps us to move forward too. So I would recommend this to any pastor who is wanting health in their church or in their own ministry personally.
We're really hopeful about the potential impact of our Healthy Church assessment, but we also recognize the need to have access to high-quality resources for all of our pastors and leaders. For each of our 10 characteristics, we've created a digital resource library filled with videos, podcasts, articles, and downloadable PDFs, all available for you to consume whenever you want. Let's take a look at just a few of these resources that will be available in our digital resource library.
The good news is that there is probably a group in your community already working for the good of your community. Instead of duplicating efforts or even competing with other organizations, we can join great organizations that are doing great work. I would argue that is kingdom work.
How about this tension? The tension between gospel declaration and gospel demonstration. One might be sort of a traditional evangelistic gospel presentation, and the other one might be meeting the needs in the community, or some people would call it the social gospel. So you have churches who are navigating this tension. Are we a gospel declaration church? Are we a gospel demonstration church? And how do we bring those two together? And we need a theological foundation for what the gospel is, but also how the gospel works itself out in our lives.
A clarifying vision of a preferred future is more than more. Vision clarity isn't limited to more of what we have. Vision clarity can be something different and something better. We can be tempted to limit our vision to just seeing more people having more money and using more facility space. Vision is about a lot more than more.
Jesus mastered in leadership development. He searched for the right people to get on the bus. Then he trained them, he tested them, he released them, and then he rewarded them.
When you're ready to check out the tools and resources we made available to you to help aid in growing your church healthier, head over to nymn.org. Once on the homepage, scroll down until you see the Healthy Church Resources button. Go ahead and select that, and it will take you over to our Healthy Churches page. This page is the launching pad for all of the different tools we have available to you to help your church grow healthier. As you scroll down, you will see our vision video, the 10 characteristics of a healthy church, access to our digital resource library, church health evaluation, and leadership cohorts, all available for you to discover more with just a click of a button. Now, there are a number of different ways to navigate these tools, but let's assume you are interested in learning more about the specific aspects of vision clarity, one of the 10 characteristics of health. You can scroll back up and select Learn More. This will take you to the Vision Clarity page where you can learn how we define it and watch a video about why it's important for local church health. The really helpful aspect of this is that as you scroll down, you will find every Vision Clarity resource available right here for you to use. This page is available for all 10 of our characteristics of health, which you can access on the top bar under Healthy Churches. But what if you want to see all the resources in one place? That's easy. Just slide over the top bar and select Resource Library. It will take you to our complete digital resource library. You can check out every video, PDF, ebook, and podcast available by simply scrolling through them. Or if you're looking for something specific, you can use a number of different filters to narrow what's visible. For example, if you wanted to filter by the incarnational living characteristic, you could click the Categories button, scroll down, and select Incarnational Living, and every resource specific to that characteristic will show up. To reset the filter, just select All, and it will reset. In addition to the Healthy Churches page, you can also find the Digital Healthy Church Evaluation and Leadership Cohort tools in this list as well. Just click Categories again and select them from the list. There they are. It's just that simple. One of the best parts of this resource library is that you know you can trust what's here. Every resource has been vetted by the network and has been determined to help your church grow healthier by engaging it. As time goes on, we will continue to add new content to ensure this is a place you can go to find the resources right when you need them. So head on over, spend some time looking around. We're confident you'll be blessed by what you find.
Dan, thanks for being with us. Sure. I'm interested, tell us a little bit about why it's so important for leaders to be in relationship with each other as we're pursuing health.
Sure. Well, one of the things we always say when we talk about the health of our leaders is that isolation is your greatest enemy. And I think anytime we are working on a process of health in our lives, it involves relationship. It comes out of relationship. And so there's a need for us to, as we are walking through ministry, to process some of the challenges that we have together, to encourage each other, and to know that we're not alone as we're going through ministry together. And so I think anytime you are addressing health in your life and in your ministry, it's going to involve relationship.
Yeah, there's something about the opportunity to have back and forth and conversation and wrestle through stuff with other people who understand what you're going through that's really impactful.
Absolutely.
And I know you've shared with me in your experience in serving our churches, there's a lot of pastors and leaders who feel alone. They feel like they're out there kind of doing their own thing.
It's true. That's true. And what we're talking about now, cohorts, I think is a great answer to that because it allows us to process what we're going through in ministry together.
Yeah, I love that. So share with us a little bit, what are cohorts, if people are asking or wondering?
Sure. So a cohort is basically a small group of pastors and church leaders who will meet together either every 3 to 4 weeks digitally. You will have content that you'll consume on your own, like videos or articles to read ahead of time. And then in the group, you'll process that information together. And all of that content is directed towards the 10 characteristics of a healthy church. And so everyone in the group is processing that information together. And so you meet and you get to discuss and you get to share with each other the different areas of what you're facing and what you're working through in that area of health. Additionally, we'll have what we call leadership access calls. So you'll have access to a high-level leader, maybe from across the state or maybe from across the country, who will jump into that call and begin to share some information and some teaching on that area, but also just to get some feedback from a great leader on that specific area of a healthy church.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really cool opportunity, not only to grow together with other leaders, but to be able to have conversation, ask questions of maybe some national level leaders who normally we wouldn't have access to.
That's right.
I think it's a great opportunity. Yeah. So Dan, share with us a little bit, how do cohorts fit in with the overall healthy church process?
Yeah, so we feel like the cohorts are really an accelerant to this whole process. So you've taken the healthy church self-assessment and you have processed that together with your team, and now you want to move forward. So this is a great way to learn and grow and accelerate what you've learned along with other pastors who are going through the same thing. It's a way to dive in deeper and really just move that process ahead a lot faster than it would on your own.
So if a pastor's interested in hearing about this, what you're saying is, hey, you can just do the assessment. You could just look at our resources in our digital resource library. That'll be beneficial to you. But we really believe that cohorts is something that takes it to the next level and helps really move what you're kind of learning out there into a more practical space, into a space that can really accelerate your health and and help you in a big way.
Absolutely. So we believe this is the highest level of engagement in the process, and we believe it's going to give you the highest level of return for your investment in the process when you jump into a cohort.
So this is all really exciting. I'm assuming there's a whole bunch of pastors and leaders right now who are watching this and they're saying, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. How do I sign up? How can I be a part of it?
Right. So you can sign up right from our digital resource library page, express interest there. We're going to have some cohorts starting in the new year. So when you sign up there, we'll know that you're interested and we will begin to connect you with a cohort for the new year. The good news is we actually have had a number of leaders already go through this process in a test cohort, and they've shared their stories with us. So we're going to take a few minutes now and have them share with us their experience in a cohort.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here and spending a little bit of time sharing with our network about your experience in the digital leadership cohorts as part of the initial phase of pastors. So thank you so much for spending the time. I just really want to start with hearing from you a little bit about your experience, maybe some of the things that you found valuable, but really you spent 6 months together in a cohort. I'd just love to hear a little bit about your experience in that 6 months. So Chris, want to start us off?
Yeah, definitely. My experience in the cohort was very valuable. I think having just different minds come together, guys that I probably would not have been able to hang out with because of just the geographical locations, but being able to hear their experiences, different sized churches, different ages, and how we were able to address certain ideas and subjects. It was very valuable for me. Sometimes even in ministry, I can think only a certain way, and then my horizons is just broadened when you hear someone else address something that you may be tackling from a different perspective. And that happened a couple of times. I think probably the most valuable part of that was it wasn't just in terms of, say, academics or philosophies, but even there were a couple of moments, when in the midst of COVID or even in the midst of personal loss, that because you spent so much time together over a couple of weeks, that prayer for each other felt very genuine, and you just didn't feel as alone, working things out as a pastor, and also realizing that certain things that you'd face in a small church or a big church, it was still relevant because it was ministry. And making that connection and feeling that authentic relationship form within that community was extremely valuable.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Chris said. Perspective was a big deal for me. In our group, I guess I was the old guy, and I hate to say that, and I'm accepting the fact that I'm not as young as I think I am in my head. But the fresh perspective was really refreshing, and that's really what I wanted to get out of it. And I just love the energy and excitement, and it helps me say, hey, how can I apply in some of the churches I'm working with, and saying, hey, so-and-so said something. They're in a church the same size, young church, young leaders, and they're just going for it. And they've got great stories to share and great strategies to share as well.
I think for me, what I really got out of it was an opportunity to have my horizons expanded in the way that I think expanded. I like to be in environments where my mind is stretched, and I always think I'm healthy and all the stuff that I do, get me in an argument with my wife, and I think I've got it all figured out. And, in relationship, and that was the second value to me, we're able to process through things that we think we know, things that are important to us, and really either sharpen that or find areas where we need the checkup was helpful because we have some areas where we need to think through, pray through, work through. And that's very valuable to me from the cohorts.
It's great just to be in a learning community. It's great to be able to just laugh together, to support one another, to wrestle through ideas. And so it was a great time.
Yeah. I was in Dave Nozzello and Dave Quigley. I was in your cohort, and I know Dave Nozzello, you said you were the old guy, but I mean, one of the unique things is being able to sit there, and we got to say, hey, Dave Quigley, Dave Nozzello, you've been doing this a little bit longer than some of the rest of us. What are bouncing ideas off of your years of experience was really helpful. I can tell just being in that cohort. So that's great. I know. So one of the things I know is you're all busy. You're all lead pastors, and there's a lot of lead pastors are probably watching this, wondering how can I fit this? How can I add another thing to what I'm doing? Can you talk a little bit about how it fit into your schedule, how you made it work in terms of working on your ministry, not necessarily just working in your ministry?
Yeah, I think it's great because there was plenty of lead time in knowing when to get it on the calendar, so that helped. But part of it too is it allows you in just the ongoing. You don't have to do all the traveling, and so you can actually deal with people across larger geographic area, and so in the midst of my busy schedule, the fact that I had stuff in advance, I could get it on the calendar. That really helped, and then just to be able to connect with people. And I believe you make time for what's valuable, and so this was really valuable to me, and so made the time for it.
Yeah, I think that the members of the cohort worked together. We got together, we made the schedule for ourselves, and everybody cooperated with each other, looking forward to it. We made it work. And if there had to be a change, I mean, we tried to commit to a certain time, but if there had to be a change, everyone was reasonably flexible. So it's just a matter of time management.
Zoom meetings, I think, have become really common for all of us, and we've gotten much better at them than I think we've ever thought we would need to be. But this was an opportunity within the midst of that to develop that habit, to get that good. But also just in having Zoom, it was super convenient to fit that in. So it was a set time. We did set them up ahead of time. But to know that, hey, we have a start time and an end time, we were able to respect that and really get a bunch done each time we did that, because Zoom was so convenient, made it easier to fit it into a busy schedule. And it really was a breakaway from all the other Zoom meetings that we're doing, because it wasn't pastoral care. It wasn't emergency response. It wasn't trying to figure out how to do a ministry in a real specific context, but more in a general context, which I think is helpful for leaders and refreshing usually, which makes it easy to find time for.
And I definitely appreciated the fact that there was an honoring of that time. The time space that was agreed on, we really kept to it, and we really did accomplish quite a bit within that amount of time. And I was able to schedule that on my daily schedule, knowing ahead of time when it would happen, and also having a bit of the pressure to be prepared, because we did almost take like a blood oath at the beginning of the cohort, saying that we'll make sure that we'll be dedicated and so forth and so on. And so if there was homework, if there's something that we needed to read, I made sure that I would be a part of the team and making sure that was done. But they really honored the time, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, one of the things that makes a cohort valuable is just the people who are willing and committing to actually do it. So I can speak, all of you and everyone who participated really took it seriously and showed up, not just to be a passive observer, but to really dig in and help each other grow. So thanks for doing that, and thanks for being a part of that. Thanks for spending a couple minutes with us and sharing with our network what they have to look forward to coming up in January. So if you want to see these bright, shiny faces in January, perhaps, a lot of good looking beards. Dave Nizzola, we're going to work on that, okay? And then we looking forward. Head over to the cohorts page and sign up for an email, and we'll keep you posted on when those things are launching. So thanks again, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for being a part of the 10. We hope you've been inspired and encouraged to pursue health in your church or ministry. One of the things we've invited you to be a part of today is the Healthy Church Assessment. And we're so passionate about this that the network is offering a free code to every senior pastor in the network. We'll be emailing that to you. So we want to encourage you to go online, check out, enter that code, and start to take that Healthy Church Assessment. In the meantime, you can also go online and check out our digital resource library. There's all kinds of stuff there for you, so go ahead and explore it. Check it out, the videos, the podcasts, the downloadable PDFs and articles. And also, if you have a suggestion of what sort of resources you would love added, we would love to hear from you. Lastly, our cohorts are starting this next year. The space is limited, so we want to encourage you, if you're interested in being a part of that, go online, sign up now. We can't wait to see what God is going to do in this new year. We're hopeful that in 2021, we're going to see God move in New York in ways He never has before. We believe we're going to see gospel transformation in every community.